everyone, Kristina here. Welcome to another video for Assignments to Stamp. This is another monthly mail art video. So I'm going to be showing you how you can kind of jazz up this plain black envelope and make it a little bit more special. So I'm actually going to be cutting a heart window in this envelope, and the idea came from a card that I made last week for a Simon blog hop, where I cut that heart over on the front of the card. You can see it over there on the side. I thought it'd be kind of fun to mimic that same idea and cut a heart window out of this black envelope from Simon. So what I'm doing is I'm placing the die inside the envelope with a piece of Post-it tape on there, so once it's in place it'll stay there. And I'm making sure that the cut lines on the die are facing the side that I want to cut, which is the flat area or the flat front of the envelope. So I put that in my Big Shot machine, and I made sure that those cut lines were facing down, because when I cut things I always have the cut lines go to the bottom plate. And then I ran that through my Big Shot. And you can see that it cut out that heart perfectly. Now this envelope is very thin, so you can see a little bit of the heart kind of impression on the other side of the envelope. And it does warp the envelope just a little bit, but once you have a card inside, it evens things out, makes it flat again, and you can hardly tell that there was any problem. So because I don't want that window to cause problems as it goes through the postal service, I'm going to use some clear acetate or some window plastic to cover up that window. So I've placed some white cardstock inside just so I can see the window a little bit better. And then I'm using some scissors to cut out some acetate. This is heat resistant acetate, but you don't have to use a heat resistant acetate. You could use a bit of packaging or just anything you have on hand. You just need a little scrap of it just to cover up this heart. So I'm adding some tape runner adhesive. I'm using Tombow Extreme adhesive today. And I just put that on the front of that acetate, and then I'm going to slide it into the envelope and get it down right into the corner. And you have to be really careful with this because you don't want it to stick to the envelope before it gets in place. But once it's there, it's going to stay there and you won't have any problems. To get those edges around the heart to really stick down, I'm using some Ranger Multimedia Matte, and I've just squeezed some of it out onto a narrow strip of cardstock, and then I'm sliding that strip of cardstock in between the acetate and the envelope die cut window, and then kind of just pressing the adhesive into the black envelope. Then I can press it down with my fingertips. So now I'm going to do some stamping, and I want to protect that window, so I'm putting in the black heart that I cut out earlier, and I'm going to use this new stamp set from Simon called Envelope Greetings. It has lots of fun things you can put on the flaps of your envelopes or on the front, and I'm going to use one of the greetings today on the very bottom of the envelope. So I'm going to be stamping with some Worn Lipstick Distress Oxide ink, and if you've used any of the oxide inks or if you've seen them in videos, this is one of the best features of this new formulation of Distress ink, and that is that you can stamp on dark surfaces and have the color show. So I'm going to do that today. I'm using that light pink color, and normally worn lipstick or a light pink would not show on this black cardstock, but because it's an oxide ink and it has a little bit of those pigment properties, it works really well. So I'm going to use some dot stamps, or a dot stamp from Mama Elephant's Basic Border Stamp Set. This is a really, really old stamp set from Mama Elephant, so if it's not available, I'll link to some other border type stamp sets in the supply section down below or in the video description in case you want some good border stamps. So I stamped that as well, and because Distress Oxide ink is a little bit of it's like a hybrid between pigment and dye, it does take a little bit longer to dry, so I did hit that with my heat tool. Now I'm going to address the envelope, and I'm using Uniball Signo Broad for the name because it's a little bit of a thicker line, and then I'm using a Jelly Roll pen for the address. And just like I've done in the past, I'm using an address that was given to me by one of my blog readers or YouTube viewers. So she has shared her address with me. I have her permission, and she's going to be getting a little card in the mail. So I'm actually going to use this card that I made a while back, and I thought it'd be really fun having that sparkly kind of pattern peeking through that heart window. I thought that'd be really fun. So I put that down, I put it in the envelope, and I'm going to seal the envelope shut. And one of my most favorite features about these envelopes from Simon is that it has the self-sealing strip. So you don't have to lick it, you don't have to do anything like that. You can just put it right down and it sticks. I'm using a few different postage stamps, and they're all kind of pinks and purples. I wanted to match that bit of the card that's peeking through my heart window. So I'm placing all of these on all the way across the top. Now, I probably didn't need quite as much postage because this card wasn't particularly thick, but I really wanted to finish out that color scheme. So that is the envelope for today. Hope that gives you some ideas. I think it'd be fun to cut out some other little images and put in some acetate and make my own windows. I will be back in the month of July for another monthly mail art video. Until then, thanks for watching.